in the upcoming series GenZeroes. Can you tell us a little bit about the premise and your character?
There's only been so much information shared with me about it. It's set in an alternative future where there's been a visitation by an alien race, and it's had catastrophic effects and results to humanity. And as a result, what's left of humanity has gone into different factions. Um, my particular faction is one that could almost be, as far as I understand, is one that could almost be regarded or compared to the United States. It's quite a powerful, warlike nation. Arms and weapons is a strong aspect of it. They're quite cunning and experienced in that aspect. You could almost think they might be the remnants of what was left of the former United States. And I'm a general, a leading character in that faction.
Great. What first attracted you to the role? Was it the script, the high concept, or just kind of the really novel creative execution of the series?
I think those are all good points. Anyone who knows me well knows that I'm also a sci-fi nerd. Like I'm a geek at heart when it comes to science fiction. I'm very particular in my taste. There's some stuff I don't like. There's other things I really, really love. Anything set in an alternative future is, as long as it's well written, I'm down. I'm always excited. But let's be honest, most people know that my best buddy is one of the executive producers of the show, Alex Ponovic. So when he approached me about the project and said, "Hey man, I want you to be involved. We're going to get some of your old castmates, even from Battlestar. We've got some local young talent who are excellent actors." He showed me the cast list, and as an actor, one of the motivating things always before you read a script is when you find out who's involved. Mm-hmm. I knew that my best friend and a few of the executive producers and writers who were involved, so that was encouraging for me. But when I saw that the cast list that he had, I knew that they had to be on something good. And then when I actually read the stuff they were putting together, and I got to sit down and really hear the storyline and the long arc that they have planned for the mythology of the series, I was on board, man. I'm always excited to work with friends who are doing well, who are working towards new things, who are creating unique projects, things that haven't been done before. And this is apparently something that's in a completely new realm, this whole NFT thing.
Yes, for sure. And that actually takes me to my next question. And GenZeroes is the first of its kind, a live action series that does incorporate NFTs into the tapestry of its narrative. So how do you think this multimedia approach to stories, is going to contribute to the overall storytelling?
You know what? I'd be lying if I said that I even understood NFTs, even at this point. I've heard the pitch many times. I can say non-fungible token. I can talk about blockchains. I can talk about this or what have you. The way I understand it, specifically with this show, is specifically in terms of fans, this experience can be different from any experience they've ever had before, because they can own a piece of the show. They can access content that they've never seen before, that say you or I with our Netflix subscription watching a television show, we're all watching the same thing. We don't have access to, say, a piece of the wardrobe or the storyline continuing. The idea that they're trying to do, one of the things that I understand that is so unique is if you were a member and you were part of the group, and you buy the NFTs regarding GenZeroes, you can actually have ownership over wardrobe, the helmet, and even further than that, something that I think the fans will really, really, really appreciate is the storyline continuing in a way you get to see, almost like webisodes or side stories that nobody else gets to see. Right. I think that is, for me, that's really, really interesting, and I can see the appeal for fans in that aspect. When I finish a scene, the thing that's, say, hypothetically, when the show gets picked up and it's potentially shown on a streamer, we'll do an episode, or you'll see a scene with me. But those with access, those with the membership, those who've signed on are going to be able to see what transpires in between scenes that the regular audience doesn't get to see. I think that's pretty cool.
Very cool. Yeah. I think that's going to be just more incentivization for audiences to engage a little bit deeper. And I think that's something that audiences are probably hungry for and have been for a while. So,
Yeah, let's be honest too. Like the sci-fi genre fans have always been those who are wanting more. They're
mhm.
largely responsible for the creation of social media and it becoming so prolific and active. I know I've been in this game long enough. I've been a professional for 20 years, but the show that really was my big start was Battlestar Galactica.
Mhm.
And there was really no social media at the time. It was in its inception. And I remember hearing in the beginning some of the actors talking about the chat rooms and all the discussion threads about the show.
Yeah.
This was the very beginning. This is these our fans, genre fans, appreciate that extra stuff. They want to take the extra time to discuss a show. They want to meet people who have the same passions for a show, the actors, the writing involved, everything and every detail. That's what they want to do. They want to geek out on it. And again, you know, they're in large part the reason that social media is blown up to the thing that it is today. And it's those same fans who I think will appreciate the extra incentives, as you mentioned, that the show is going to provide by it being the first NFT created show.
Yeah, absolutely. Jeremy Smith and Matt Venables, who worked together on Van Helsing, teamed up again for GenZeroes. What was it like to work with an established duo to create this new futuristic world?
Both of these guys are they're writing partners. They've worked together for a very long time, and they had a very successful show that Alex, of course, came from. Um, I'm always encouraged as an actor when I know that I'm going to be working with capable veteran professionals. Not to say I have anything against new young talent, but they bring a resume and experience with them. This is essential when you're trying to create something new. It's a very tough game. There's a million new ideas and concepts and shows that people are trying to create, and unfortunately, 90% of them do not get made. There's a very small percentage that is made, and when you have veterans like Jeremy Matt, who are coming in after having a very successful show and writing for it creatively for so many years and producing that show, you can't put a price, you can't put a value on how important it is to have veterans like that. They've really fleshed out a very interesting and unique mythology, something where again the geek in me really wants to know more. They keep saying to me, okay, well, you're going to be surprised. Wait till you find out where we're taking your character in this episode. Or when this interaction happens, then this happens. They've given me a couple tidbits. And again, I'm just excited as a fan, even more excited as an actor to get to it. But when you're working with veterans in the business who have had a lot of success, you know, you're doing well. You're in good hands.
Absolutely. And how familiar were you with your fellow co-stars, Nicole Munoz, Jesse Stanley, Mark Hildreth? I know you're close friends with Alex,
Yeah.
but were you familiar with some of the others, or had you met them prior?
Just met them briefly in passing. Mark is a friend. Mark Hildreth and I have been in the business for a long time together. I remember meeting Mark probably almost 20 years ago. So, you know, we didn't get to share a big scene together, but we did share a scene together, and it was great because Mark and I, you know, we're in the same peer professional acting group too. We go together and we train together. Mark's a fantastic actor, and I'm really happy that Alex brought him involved. And the other two young actors that you mentioned are very, very talented. I've seen their work. I haven't had a chance to really hang out with them enough, but I'm looking forward to the success of the show and us having that opportunity, and even more so to hopefully act together.
Absolutely. And I know it's still new, but do you have any favorite memories or stories and experiences from the work you've done on GenZeroes so far?
You know, it's really cool seeing your best buddy and 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 other friends, creatives who he's brought together, playing an executive producer role, not only the actor role, but the EP role, bring together a bunch of veterans, a bunch of people from our very strong film community in Vancouver together to shoot together. And in some ways it feels like a smaller production because it's intimate. We didn't have a massive crew. But then when you're there on the day and you see the organization, you feel the experience, you feel the collaboration more than anything, with everybody working together and having trust that the people they've brought on board are bringing more than just their own specific talents. They have stuff to offer. Collaboration is so important on any project. I loved how on the day we were all we were offering things, and things were most often accepted. Everybody had a clear idea of what they wanted, but they were also open to hearing new things that we could try. And I just love seeing all the departments working really seamlessly together. Kamani's a good friend of mine. He directed the episode that I was in. We worked with this wonderful new DP who I'd never worked with before. And I remember on the day I was wondering how his stuff was going to look. I could tell that it looked pretty good, but I've seen some of the finished product and it looks fantastic. Neil Stephenson Moore is an old friend of mine too. He's one of the heads of the show. He's the kind of the genius behind the NFT drive. And just to see these different friends and people come together to work on a project together in this town, to see my best buddy wearing an executive producer hat and work his ass off to make this a success is it's really cool, man. It makes me feel good to be a part of it.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's always nice to just see something come to fruition.
It really is.
What do you think it is about this show that's going to make it a fan favorite?
Well, I would say that you've got significant actors involved, more than a few of them, who bring in a huge fan audience already from the sci-fi genre, from genre fans. That's really going to help. And I say this with all humility, but, a lot of us have been doing this for a long time, and we're bringing multiple audiences with us from different shows that we've done, where we've been regulars on different series. That counts for something. Those fans have always been loyal. They always support our projects. They always support our work. And they're discerning individuals. So they usually come in, open and optimistic, but they have good taste. So I would say that most of those fans and that fan base that we're bringing in are really going to propel the show forward. Again, it's a genre thing. It's a new idea that I don't think anybody's done yet. And it's a first of its kind. I think it could be a precedent-setting creation. And as a result, a bunch of shows will probably follow suit and model themselves after it.
Absolutely. And you've been a part of a lot of groundbreaking genre shows yourself, Battlestar, Dollhouse. You've been on Supernatural. What is it about kind of this sci-fi genre that attracts you to the roles? And more so, you said you're quite picky about your sci-fi, so I'd be interested in learning what's good sci-fi to you.
Well, I have been very blessed. I have been able to work with some incredible creators and be on some amazing shows. What was the second part of your question?
What makes a sci-fi good to you? You said you're picky about the sci-fi that you like. I'm curious.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes I'm asked like why I do so much sci-fi. I would be lying and exaggerating if I said that I have any control over this. I do to a point, but I'm offered oftentimes most of the stuff, the significant stuff that I've been offered has been in the sci-fi universe, in the genre universe, and I'm okay with that. The genre universe sometimes has the most imagination. They're allowed to create outside of the strict and established confines of our reality, what we accept as real and not real. I like that. I like imagination. I like new, broad, unique, and risky ideas. And that's what we do in sci-fi. That's what we do in genre stuff. We're playing with things that aren't currently real as far as anybody knows. And people appreciate that because human beings are fantastic. Our creativity is endless, as is the potential for it. There is endless amounts of stories. Stories are what bind us together. That's what brings us together. Stories and art and television and streaming and movies and film and these new NFT projects. This is what reminds humanity that we all have things in common, regardless of different ideas, cultural and political beliefs. We're all one, the same creation. And we need to remember that during tumultuous times like now, where there's so much vitriol and unfortunately lack of discourse and tension in the world. It's these shows, it's our shared love of these unique stories that really bring us together and help us remember to have empathy and compassion for our fellow individuals. I like creative things. I've always been a sucker for, not to contradict my first point, but I've always been a sucker for things that seem kind of plausible. And when I was a kid growing up in Northern Canada and only watching the original Star Trek, a lot of that just seems so far-fetched. But
Mhm.
so many of those ideas, so many of the technology, the things that they imagined have come to fruition. And I think you'd be remiss, you'd be lying if you didn't say that shows like that didn't influence creators in tech and technology to sort of follow that path from that genius idea that a writer came up with on a show. I've always been a really big fan of there's a sci-fi science fiction writer named William Gibson. Have you read his stuff?
I have not.
Okay, William Gibson is famous for coining the term. He was talking about cyberspace, and he coined the term cyberspace and cyber cowboy before anybody. He was
Mhm.
talking about the internet before the internet.
Oh.
He usually only wrote maybe 50 years in the future. His timeline has always been quite, it's been within, our perspective, like it could be within your timeline. And he's been incredibly accurate with some of the stuff that he's written about. And his stuff, I've watched him develop as a writer since I read his first book, Burning Chrome, when I was 14. I'm now, in my mid 40s, and I'm still reading William Gibson's stuff. His last book, Peripheral, is just astounding. Highly recommend it. Try and read his stuff in order, though. I think you'd appreciate his progression as a writer if you did that. I just love genre stuff, man. There's some things can get a little too fantastical for me. Those really aren't my thing, but I love things that are somewhat plausible, that I can wrap my head around and be like, yeah, that could happen. We could head in that direction. That is real. And I don't mind stuff that involves aliens and other life forms, because I'm definitely one of those people that believes that there's so much out there that we don't realize, and there's definitely other intelligent life forms. But on that, I don't like it when it gets a little too campy and weird.
Yep, there's a fine line for sure.
There's a fine line.
Yes. I just have a couple more questions for you. Tell us a little about any additional new or upcoming projects you have going on.
Well, a movie that I did a year and a half ago, maybe 2 years ago. I think it's just come out. It's called The Last Victim. It's starring Ali Larter and Ron Perlman and Ralph Ineson, and it's like a neo western, and it's the likes of No Country for Old Men.
Okay.
I had a blast shooting that. When you get to act with incredible actors like that, and be in the company of incredible actors like Ineson and Ralph and Ali, you're in good company, and they bring a real respect to a project right away. And I know that the film's already doing well, but definitely want people to check that one out. Should be a lot of fun. The Last Victim.
Last Victim. Excellent.
And then one more that I've got coming out. I was filming a Netflix series months ago, and that's called Devil in Ohio. So I'm in that. They're really keeping tight-lipped about when it's coming out. I think it'll probably come out in fall.
Okay, very cool.
Yeah,
it has a good fall release title, that's for sure.
Yeah, Devil in Ohio, right? Hey, fall's coming back.
Nice, just cozy autumn vibes with that one.
Yes, cozy autumn vibes. Family affair.
Exactly. My last question for you is, what would you like to say to fans and followers of your work?
I would love to say that you guys have been amazing over the years. You're the reason that I'm still working. You've always been incredibly loyal. I can't thank my fans enough for that support and that loyalty over the years. Man, it's amazing. As actors, it's not always a smooth ride. As good as it is, we get very frustrated when we're having slow patches and we're not working. And those fans have always been there. They're always sending out support, and they're always game for whatever you're doing next. You can't. I can't say enough about that. I can't show my appreciation enough, because it means the world to me. I'm really looking forward to making a transition myself into directing and filmmaking and working on the other side of the camera. And I know that fan base has been really eager and curious about whenever I've talked about it, and they're going to be there when I actually produce my stuff and put it out there.
Excellent. Yes, I know we're all rooting for you. Happy to see whatever comes next for you.
Thank you so much.